Welcome into Seattle Seahawks Today. I am Tom Downey, and reminder, subscribe for the best Seahawks videos on YouTube. The link is below, but you're watching on YouTube, so hit that big red button and subscribe right now. I want to shout out 5 recent subscribers. Big ups to Cascades 500, Caleb Canada, Quan D, Reginald B, and last but certainly not least, Mr. Polished Cracked Blackstone Bricks. Unique, so I appreciate that. If you want to shout out potentially, make sure to subscribe to Seattle Seahawks Today. Remember, folks, if you want a shout out on Sunday's video, stay tuned until the end of today's show, and we'll tell you how you have that opportunity to get a shout like the other 5 people just did here on Seattle Seahawks Today. But first, we're going to spend some time here on some news coming out of the Combine from recent items said by Pete Carroll. He tends to do a little side getaway with some of the local reporters. Here's what Greg Bell, Seattle reports. Pete Carroll told him. Says Seahawks intend to re-sign Quandre Diggs, DJ Reed, Sidney Jones, and Duane Brown. All of their contracts have ended. The free agent market officially opens March 16th. The next 2 weeks are huge, Carroll said at the Combine. Bringing back those 4 key players is important, especially if you want to still have money to pay other guys or sign other guys. Quandre Diggs has been one of the best safeties in the NFL, especially last year before that gruesome ankle injury. He is expected back in mid-June to be fully cleared. DJ Reed, a massive breakout year. We'll actually talk more about him later on at the back end of today's video. Sidney Jones also flashed in a homecoming of sorts for him in the state of Washington. And veteran Duane Brown still remains a good player despite his age. That'd be a big addition on the left side, the blind side at left tackle, or re-addition, I should say. Of the 4, that's a pretty good group to keep. We can throw in Rashad Penny. You can throw in, maybe you want one of the other defensive backs or a Brandon Shell or Gerald Everett. I think that's a pretty good quad to have in terms of the 4 top internal free agents for Seattle. Tougher positions to find help at, and also just damn good football players. So hypothetically, if you could only keep one of them, who would it be? Type in D for Quandre Diggs, type in J for Sidney Jones, R for DJ Reed, or B for Duane Brown. Those are your 4 options. This is the pinned comments on today's video. So if you get an ad break here on YouTube, well, take advantage of it. While the ad plays, head down there and pick which one you want to keep the most, more than anybody. Quandre Diggs next up here for Seattle, or in depth on each of these guys, I should say. Look, the injury, of course, is a major red flag. He wants to get paid significant amount of money. 7 pass breakups, 5 interceptions is not easy to find. He is a critical part of the back end as that free safety. You're paying Jamal Adams a lot. I know that. I want to pay Quandre Diggs as well. And I can afford to do so if you're smart with how you manage the salary cap. My number 1 guy, though, is DJ Reed, and that's age factoring into it. I liked him a lot coming out of Kansas State. He has been way better than what I thought he was going to be. I think he emerged as a number 1 corner for Seattle this year. And in this new scheme they're going to adopt, he still fits the mold pretty damned well. I don't know how much he'll cost. I think it could be around the Shaquille Griffin contract, maybe a little bit less since he's not as hyped as other players. But you don't allow sub 48% in terms of completions by being bad. You do that by being really good at football. Sidney Jones, I think, will be much, much cheaper than DJ Reed. I would like a shorter-ish deal for him, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. Max, I'd say $5-ish million per year. Enough that you could start him, if you had to. But if you draft a premium player or sign somebody else, you're not having a bad contract on your books in order to keep that guy on your team. So I'm down to re-sign Sidney Jones. And I especially want to say short-term deal for Duane Brown. There is no reason to pay him a long-term deal. He's too old for that. Now, if you want to add some get-out-of-it years, like, low guaranteed money and still have some decent, APY, I'm fine with that. No complaints from that perspective. If you want to have fake years on it, I'm totally fine. But in particular for me on defense, the DJ Reed and Quandre Diggs' returns, or DJ Reed and Diggs returns, are critical. I don't want to lose those guys. My defense is already kind of shaky enough, if we're being honest, as it is. Losing 2 of your 3 best secondary pieces, that's a bad idea if you're Seattle. Today's show is powered by BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Seahawks125. It'll get you a 125% deposit bonus. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Seahawks125. There are combine prop bets available on BetUS. Aiden Hutchinson, I'm going under 35.5 bench press reps. He'll come in the mid to low 30s. It's a good over-under. Broad is 11 feet 5 inches. Vert is 43.5 inches. As we sit here filming this, that has not been broken yet. I took the over on both. Oh, but it's been close. There was already an 11-2 broad jump amongst the receivers and an over 40, I think it was 41-inch vertical jump. So, going to get dicey on that front. And I'll go under 40.5 bench press reps. That one won't be broken potentially until the offensive-defensive line. Those are some of my bets I'm taking this week for the NFL Combine. You're watching Seattle Seahawks Today. I am Tom Downey. CBS Sports has put out some free agency predictions, and 3 of them involve the Seattle Seahawks, so I figured we'd break them down on today's video. Number 1, Randy Gregory goes to Seattle. This is an appealing idea. Remember, Seattle last year signed Aldon Smith to play that 3-4 outside linebacker role. That did not work out because Aldon Smith is always Aldon Smith. Randy Gregory, more expensive because he's more reliable than Aldon Smith. Outside of Darrell Taylor, Seattle doesn't have that many true 3-4 edges. Maybe Alton Robinson, maybe Benson Mayowa. I think Dunlap's more of a sub package when you go to your 4-man front and passing downs. That's fine with me. But guys that can rush and drop into coverage at least a little bit, you don't have many of those guys. Randy Gregory can do that. Now, the Cowboys didn't ask him to because you shouldn't be asking your pass rushers that much to drop into coverage, but it worked out fine enough for them. The production is never quite broken out. He's had injury problems. Cowboys want to keep him, so making that happen will be a little bit tricky for Seattle, but fit-wise, I think he's pretty good. Number 2, Zach Ertz to Seattle as they add tight end help, as Gerald Everett, in theory, will end up leaving in free agency. I like Ertz. He's a solid football player. The age is beginning to get there, and he doesn't bring you that much after the catch, although he was a little bit better, or at least more heavily utilized by Arizona than he was in Philly. The average actually went down. Touchdowns, of course, went up, but not at the same rate. No Dallas Goedert, and Ertz got more usage. Now, that production is better than what's in that 11-game production, than what Seattle's had in a long time at the position. Gerald Everett and Will Dissly are both free agents. The roster at tight end was fine last year. You want to get a little more out of Colby Parkinson, I would argue, but it's just not quite what you're looking for. Overall, if you're getting, upwards of 700-ish yards out of your tight end, that's pretty good. Across 3 guys, though, that's a little bit different of a conversation. So of these 2 free agents pegged to go to Seattle by CBS Sports, which one would you sign? I'm curious how you guys vote, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Type in G for Randy Gregory or E for Zach Ertz. And then number 3, the Seahawks lose DJ Reed. He goes back to San Francisco. Remember, Seattle claimed DJ Reed off of waivers from the Niners, not last year, the year before that, because they didn't want him anymore. And he's been a gem for Seattle. Him going back to San Francisco would be both funny from like a non-Seahawks perspective, but also like kind of brutal for Seattle. DJ Reed has been awesome for this organization. I don't want to lose him. Of these players, I would invest heavily in maintaining DJ Reed, even over signing a Randy Gregory or a Zach Ertz. All right, more on these guys, right? Gregory, as I kind of teased, he fits what they want to do at the edge rusher spot. He might cost you $10 million, but it gives you a more reliable edge, although I'd still argue Hassan Reddick is the top fit for Seattle. And I don't think DJ Reed goes back to San Francisco. I'd be kind of surprised by that because they already cut him once. They said, yeah, we don't think you're good enough. If I'm DJ Reed, unless the Niners are blowing me away with the offer that they present to me, I think I'd rather stick around in Seattle, who's clearly shown me that they like me. Because if the Niners wanted DJ Reed, he'd still be there. They said, "No, we're going to cut you with a waived injured designation," and the Seahawks grabbed him up instead. So the 3 moves: Randy Gregory from the Cowboys to the Seahawks at edge. Seattle poaches Zach Ertz from Arizona, but they lose DJ Reed to the San Francisco 49ers. If you haven't already, folks, please subscribe. I promised you at the beginning of today's show that I'd tell you how you can get a shout-out for next week's. Well, here's how it happens. The first 5 people who type me in the comment section right now, congrats. You guys will get a shout-out on Sunday.